On the battlefields of World War II, fire was both essential and dangerous. Soldiers needed heat to melt snow, boil water, warm rations, and keep hands functional in freezing conditions. At the same time, even a thin ribbon of smoke could give away a position and invite artillery or sniper fire. This tension forced wartime engineers to rethink something as basic as a flame. The result was a compact, nearly invisible cooking system that fit in a pocket, burned cleanly, and functioned reliably in wind, rain, and cold. It was not a luxury item. It was a survival tool designed for stealth. This small stove, often overlooked in popular histories, represents one of the most elegant examples of wartime problem-solving under pressure. Why open fires and traditional stoves became liabilities in combat zones. Before the war, soldiers relied on campfires, bulky mess stoves, or shared field kitchens. These methods failed the moment mobility and concealment became priorities. Smoke carried far, especially in cold air. Flames, well, they reflected light at night, making concealment tricky. Fuel scavenging took time and honestly exposed soldiers to detection. As armies moved faster and fought in harsher environments, particularly in Eastern Europe and up in the mountains, the need for a personal silent heat source became really obvious. The solution had to be light, reliable, and nearly smokeless. So, how did solid fuel chemistry make smokeless burning possible? The breakthrough, actually, came with solid fuel tablets, most famously associated with the German Esbit system, but, mirrored in Allied designs as well. These tablets were made from compressed hexamine or similar compounds. When ignited, they burned with a steady flame, producing heat without visible smoke or sparks. The chemical structure allowed near-complete combustion, which meant minimal residue and really no drifting plumes. Unlike wood or coal, there was nothing left to smoulder. Once lit, the flame was predictable and controllable. The design of the pocket stove was just as important as the fuel it used. It wasn't merely about burning something hot enough, it was about how the stove itself enabled survival, efficiency and, a touch of ingenuity under pressure. The stove was usually a folding metal frame, often made from steel or aluminum, designed to shield the flame from the wind while supporting a cup or mess tin. Airflow was carefully managed. Just enough oxygen would reach the fuel to sustain combustion, but not so much turbulence that it would cause the flame to flicker or flare. This stability, increased efficiency and further reduced visible signatures. The whole unit could be unfolded, lit, used and repacked in just a few minutes. And when folded, it would simply disappear into a uniform pocket. Now, let's talk about how soldiers actually used these stoves under real battlefield conditions. During winter campaigns, they would melt snow directly into their canteens using these stoves, often while crouched in shallow cover. It was a small comfort, but it could make all the difference out there. Rations could be heated quietly before dawn or after dark. In some units, soldiers were trained to shield the flame with their bodies and operate the stove below ground level to eliminate any chance of detection. Reports from Eastern Front veterans describe using the stove inside ruined buildings or foxholes without fear of smoke build-up or visibility from outside. Why this system worked in cold and wet environments where others failed. Liquid fuel stoves existed but were complex and prone to failure in freezing temperatures. Fuel lines clogged. Pumps failed. Solid fuel tablets did not freeze, spill, or evaporate. They could be lit with a single match and extinguished simply by smothering. Even when wet, they could often be dried and reused. This reliability made them ideal for soldiers operating far from supply lines. Allied forces, they adopted pretty similar concepts but used different materials. Both British and American troops were issued folding stoves paired with heat tabs, and sometimes they even used gelled alcohol fuels. Now, while the actual formulations might have differed a bit, the principle, well, it was always the same. What really mattered was clean combustion, minimal smoke, and, of course, portability, much more than just raw heat output. These stoves, honestly, were never designed for cooking elaborate meals. Their real purpose was to keep soldiers alive and, well, functional. So, how can we use this knowledge today in survival and emergency planning? The key takeaway here isn't just nostalgia, it's practicality. Even now, in modern emergency kits, solid fuel stoves are still considered one of the most reliable heating options out there. A compact folding stove combined with smokeless fuel really allows for discreet cooking during power outages, evacuations, or even wilderness travel. To actually apply the World War II method properly, it's important to choose fuel that's known for clean combustion, operate it in a spot with sheltered airflow, and use cookware that's sized just right to capture heat efficiently. Honestly, even a small amount of fuel can boil water as long as you minimize heat loss. So, why is smokeless heat still a critical survival advantage? Well, in disaster scenarios, visibility tends to attract attention, and not all of it is, welcome. Smoke signals activity. Quiet heat, on the other hand, allows for much-needed discretion. This is as true now as it was in wartime Europe. The World War II pocket stove demonstrates that effective survival tools do not need to be complex. They need to be thoughtfully designed. What this small stove reveals about wartime engineering priorities is, well, quite remarkable. This was not innovation for comfort. It was innovation for survival. Engineers listened to frontline feedback, observed failure points, and removed unnecessary complexity. The result was a tool that did one thing extremely well. It burned without smoke. If you value serious historical insight and practical knowledge forged under extreme conditions, subscribe to the channel and share this episode with others who respect proven solutions. History is not just something to remember, it is something to use.